All right, what's up guys? So in today's video, I'm gonna tell you how I finally got lean after years of failing and struggling. I remember a couple years ago, I was pretty out of shape. I didn't really take very good care of myself and I just felt pretty overall insecure about how I looked until one day, eventually I started to take fitness a little bit more serious. I had started hanging out with some friends who were pretty into the gym, and that motivated me and inspired me to also start getting into the gym. I remember watching a bunch of YouTube videos just trying to figure out the right way to go about this. And there's a lot of very niche instructions, I think, like a lot of videos that pertain specifically to bodybuilding or specifically to powerlifting. But one thing I noticed is there just wasn't really a tutorial for the average guy. And it kind of led me to a pretty black-pilled mindset about fitness, thinking that really the only people who could get into good shape were people who were blessed with great genetics, until eventually I just learned a few very simple basic principles that allowed me to completely transform my physique. So in this video, I'm gonna make a tutorial for just the average, normal, everyday guy, because the whole point of this channel is to show you that whether you're someone with amazing genetics or someone with average genetics like myself, or even someone maybe with bad genetics, anyone can get into great shape. And so in this video, again, I'll tell you the very basic principles that I took to completely transform my physique. All right, guys, and just so you know, this is what I used to look like. These pictures were taken, I believe, around 2021-ish, and you can see that I just had a pretty average physique. I was pretty out of shape. I had a little bit excessive amount of body fat, really didn't have a ton of muscle on me, and it just kind of led to this overall skinny fat, not super athletic physique. And I just remember being generally pretty overall insecure about how I looked. And the reason I like to show you this is, again, I just want to show that if I can do it, anyone can do it. And it really actually isn't that difficult. You might look at these pictures and can relate a little bit. And the whole point I want to let you know is that your dream physique, that dream body that you're trying to get, actually isn't that far away. And just through implementing these very basic principles, I was able to completely transform my body. You can see I was able to get rid of quite a bit of body fat and add quite a bit of muscle mass as well. And like I said, guys, anyone can do this. All right, so there's gonna be three basic principles that we're gonna talk about today. Pretty much just the stuff that I implemented into my life that you can also implement, that I can guarantee if you do will completely change how you look and how you feel. Now, the first thing we're gonna talk about is relationship with food. I think this is a big one that people probably struggle with, which is just the actual dynamic that you have with the food that you're eating. And for me personally, I had a pretty unhealthy relationship with food for a long time. I struggled with what's called yo-yo dieting, which pretty much means that you're swinging to the extreme of one end, where I was basically starving myself. I would have like 14 to 1500 calories a day. And then come the weekend, I'd be so hungry and so depleted that I would end up just binge eating and undoing all of my progress that I had made. And it was really a brutal way to do it, because if you think about it, you're still putting in all the work of dieting. You know, you're eating low calories for 6 days out of the week. And so you're still going through that, suffering and that really difficult process of having super low calories, but then you're just undoing it. So you're just spinning your wheels and doing all this work for really nothing. I would say that, the main lesson I learned from all this, because I've always been into tracking calories, and tracking calories I believe is an important and good skill, but only if it's in the process of serving your goal. I think that calorie tracking needs to be combined with a genuine effort to clean up your diet and make healthy choices. For me personally, I'm pretty against the whole if it fits your macros idea, which, if you don't know, if it fits your macros basically just means that as long as you can kind of fit it into your calorie allotment and your macro allotment, you can eat it. But the reason why I don't like that is because I think that it keeps you still addicted to the junk food. Like, if you can make the junk food work with your calorie allotment, that's great. But the problem is that junk food is super addictive, that, in my opinion, you end up just rebounding pretty hard if you continue to eat the junk food while being in a calorie deficit. So in my opinion, the only way to really get lean and stay lean is to switch to actual clean, healthy foods, which I think not only will it get you lean, but it'll make you feel a lot better too. And so this is kind of the formula that I've put together, is that processed foods in a calorie deficit will equal temporary weight loss, but an eventual rebound. However, clean foods plus a calorie deficit is a sustainable way to get lean and also stay lean. And the next thing we're gonna talk about is a sedentary versus active lifestyle. Sedentary just means that you're not active, and active obviously means that you're active. The whole idea behind this is that small decisions make the difference between losing weight and not losing weight. I think when people think of active lifestyles, a lot of times they can think of like running a marathon and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the really small decisions. And 200 calories burned from taking the stairs versus taking the elevator throughout the day or getting additional steps can be the difference between losing weight and not losing weight. right? Like if your maintenance calories is 2,500 calories and you eat 2,500 calories, well, that means you're at maintenance, you're not gonna lose weight. Whereas if you add an additional 200 calories burned because you decided to take the stairs all day or you decided to get 10,000 steps, well, then that's the difference between being in a deficit and not being in a deficit. So it's, again, the small decisions that really add up. Like I said, you don't need to be out here running marathons, but my favorite ways to do it are just getting your steps in. I like to get 10,000 steps a day, taking the stairs. Even if you just do like a recreational sport, you go to the YMCA and play basketball, play some sports outside with your kids or something like that. Those are just great ways to burn additional calories. In my opinion, it's pretty easy. Getting extra steps, taking the stairs, it's not like these are crazy difficult things to do. It requires a little bit more effort, but it adds up and it actually matters. And then the last thing that we'll talk about today, guys, is strength training. Strength training is super important, not just for young men, not just for guys who are trying to get jacked, but I believe for everybody. The reason why strength training is important for everybody because it supports general health, it gets your hormones in balance, your blood flow. It's just good for overall quality of life. So we're talking girls, guys, whether you're older, whether you're younger. I think that weightlifting is going to be beneficial for anybody. And a really cool benefit of weightlifting when it comes to weight loss and getting lean is that more muscle mass means that your body actually has to use more energy, aka burn more calories to sustain that muscle mass, which means that you actually get to burn more calories at baseline the more muscle that you have, which means that it's actually easier to lose weight. So having more muscle means that you get a higher metabolic base, meaning that you can easily burn more calories than if you didn't have that muscle on you. Not gonna pretend like this isn't the case at all, right? Being lean and muscular, you look cool as hell. You look cool AF. So that's another added benefit. There's no way that whether you have the worst genetics in the world or whatever, if you are lean and you have a good amount of muscle on you, you're gonna look cool. So, but anyways, guys, this is pretty much it. The other thing too, now a lot of people ask, like, what about, diet? What should I eat on the day-to-day basis? What should I lift? What kind of workout should I do when I'm in the gym? Well, if you're curious about that, I actually just wrote an entire book called The Aesthetic Protocol. It's the price of a couple cups of coffee. And if you go and invest in this book, I can guarantee you that it will completely change your life and completely overhaul your physique. So that's in the description down below. Go check that out if you want. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.